Jadi inilah yang membezakan seorang sekali lagi berlakon menangis demi kuasa, jawatan dan juga kuasa semata-mata untuk menjatuhkan kerajaan yang ada pada hari ini. Pemimpin yang ada pada hari ini, yang memimpin kerajaan hari ini, Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim pula bekerja demi rakyat Malaysia. Untuk apa? Untuk memberikan bantuan, menyenangkan, untuk memberikan keselesaan kepada rakyat. Inilah beza pemimpin yang hanya mengejar kuasa dan jawatan semata-mata, sahabat semua. Jadi apapun saya ingin membawakan anda untuk mendengar ucapan daripada Perdana Menteri kita.
Sidang ini walaupun tidak mungkin dilihat sebagai suatu tunggak dalam pembangunan negara atau ekonomi, itu tidak sebenarnya mewakili pandangan yang tepat. Kalau kita bicara soal negara madani, pertumbuhan negara, memperkasa ekonomi dan negara, ia mesti berasas kepada tunggak ilmu. Tunggak ilmu itu selain dari sekolah, universiti, ialah perpustakaan. Nah, sejarah tamadun yang besar itu dikaitkan dengan gedung ilmu yang besar. Sama ada di Alexandria atau Baitul Hikmah di Baghdad atau kemudiannya di barat. Tokoh-tokoh besar dunia, pemikir, filosof, pujangga, semuanya berpengkalan di perpustakaan. Jadi justru itu perhimpunan ini tentunya punyai tugas yang besar, terutama peringatan kepada pustakawan bahawa ada suatu peranan utama bukan sekadar menghimpunkan gedung buku dan memperindahkan dengan almari kaca, tetapi untuk menjadikannya sebagai suatu medan dan wahana yang penting bagi memupuk kesedaran, menggalakkan minat membaca. Now, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, clearly this Congress brings together some of the region's most vital custodian of knowledge, culture and the community. This lay the foundation for something often spoken but rarely defined, a true Southeast Asian community, the love for scholarship and learning. I made reference to earlier about great civilizations known, of course, for their economic strength, technological prowess, military power, but underlying these factors is, of course, knowledge. The capacity to not only combine these forces together into this great library, but to be able to disseminate the information effectively. Now, to my mind, this is a major task of librarians in this region. Those who are familiar with novels, I remember or recall in the novel The Name of the Rose, by this Italian novelist. I can't recall the name. There's a problem without having a text. But The Name of the Rose, and the second novel was Foucault's Pendulum. Now, in The Name of the Rose, this was the labyrinth of a huge building in the library, the search for great work, the book, to show the strength of knowledge and great contributions to mankind through books. Now, having said that, and the great libraries of the past, from Alexandria to Baitul Hikmah to the West now, what is our challenge? The challenge is to get this reading culture back. Now we have lost it. I made reference a week earlier, I think, to this book written by Alan Bloom, The Closing of the American Mind, I think in the early 80s. So where Alan Bloom made this reference to the a decline of the culture, tradition, and capacity, interest to read. In social media, they read 2 sentences and they come to a conclusion. Influencers will continue to say in a few words and come to a judgment. Now, the culture of creativity, of trying to fathom the truth, to understand, to appreciate through that reading culture is somewhat lost. And this was written somewhat in the 80s. And I believe this something has gotten worse. Now, astrophysicist Carl Sagan, for example, once said, when he was reflecting the wonder of books. Now, this you see the disconnect between what Carl Sagan said and the reality. What an astonishing thing a book is. Astonishing. The book, when you have that love for scholarship, you see a book, it's astonishing. One glance at it, you are inside the mind of another person. Maybe somebody dead thousands of years ago. Writing, therefore, binds together people of different ages, cultures, citizens of distant epochs. A book, therefore, is a proof that humans are capable of working magic. Not the exact words, I'm paraphrasing. Second. When you read, for example, Greek philosophy, you're reading work of thousands of years. You read the Roman Marcus Aurelius, Meditations, or then Shakespeare, or Sejarah Melayu, or Babat Tanah Jawi. You are talking about the wisdom of the past. Then you are confronted with artificial intelligence. But the challenge for librarians is therefore, how can you help to become an effective purveyor of that magic? To be able to translate, to guard the books, of course, in the library, to guide it to those who come to the library, and open its horizon so that those who come actually love it. I was fortunate when I was at the University of Malaya. There was this great librarian, Bedalim, who had this passion and almost an obsession of wanting to make this library a great library and get students to read. Then when I was already in government as a minister, I used to introduce books in most of my speeches. Then there's very outstanding librarian, Rustam, Rohani Rustam, at Dewan Bahasa dan Pustaka. The library is not huge, but this librarian had that interest. The moment she reads about what I've said, for example, I mentioned Alan Bloom just now, or some new works, either literature or technology or economics. The next day, those days they have fax. She will fax the reviews. in international journals so that I can assess and evaluate and reflect what I have read and what are the critical views. But these are rare. I mean, people with that passion. I'm not suggesting that all librarians in Malaysia should start sending me reviews and I have nothing to do. I just start reading reviews. But what I'm saying is, there are librarians with that passion. And I've seen librarians when I make sure that in my house, library is the most important place. I've collected books for the last 40, 50 years, some rare books, some great works, and you can see the librarians sometimes are difficult. They are very pricky. No, it shouldn't be like that. The system is like that. You have to tolerate them because that's their passion. I understand you guys very well. Tak boleh, no, tak habis. But it is a passion. Now, our challenge, therefore, is how do you have students, this is our national library, students coming in. Sometimes we distribute books for free. And recently, last year I announced that every student in this country was given 100 ringgit just to buy books. This year I said all teachers will be given 100 ringgit to buy books and university students. Now, okay, they buy. Beautify the house with libraries. PMX kata harus ada buku. Dia tidak ada buku. Itu buku bukan untuk pameran. William, when I was Minister of Education a long time ago, I usually go for surprise checks. Say I have a program at Alostar or at the University Utara, so I will stop by in some of the schools on the way to Jitra and go check for the first leaves of the lavatory, then library, because it sounds about the same, lavatory, library. Now, there was one school in Kedah. I went to the library, very clean, very proper, everything sealed, plastic. So I said to the teacher, hey, come on, why do you keep them? You have to keep clean, sir. I said, no, the book is not supposed to be dirty, but it's supposed to be read. So I had to come back and told the DG of Education to give instructions. This books should not be covered in plastics. You should open the plastic and make sure people read. And we should know, because from the record, whether it's being read or not. Now, it is digression, Aaron, you don't mind. I've been a teacher all my life. So I think even a prime minister, I behave like a teacher. Some are getting bored, so please bear with me. Librarians, therefore, when you will give a book, there was a book festival recently, and I said, it's not necessary just to give a book. You should see open page 43. Please read that para. And make it so exciting that they will continue to read page 44. And that's the challenge. Because without that, the consequences are profound. For journalism, for students, for public knowledge, for democracy itself. Look at that rancorous debate, contentious at times, full of mischief and hatred, with hardly any understanding. Just playing to the gallery. And this is, of course, not wise. Partly populism, but you breed and encourage ignorance. So that is why libraries and librarians have this big challenge. I listened to Aaron about democratizing access through digital mobile libraries, what have you. Yes, these are infrastructure. And of course, libraries have to adapt with a steady resolve. Digital, AI, okay. But our duty is, of course, to encourage. How do we then get people, and students particularly, the young, to have the interest to read? Of course, we were all young before. I was young a long time ago. But, and we love music, we love popular culture, fine, or cinemas. We know all the name of actors and actresses, and we can sing English, Chinese, Hindi songs, Bollywood movies, Hollywood. Okay, fair. But then, inculcating that habit, that interest, to me, is a collective exercise. Because without that, there's no space to test ideas, no opportunity to compare experiences, to strengthen one another in order to navigate the shifting sands of our time. Imagine ASEAN, this great regional initiative. We have had, alhamdulillah, a very successful meeting because of ASEAN leaders' very pragmatic attitude to work together, to bring up our economy together, and to talk about collaboration in terms of energy transition, digitalization, and of course, the culture and the arts. Can you imagine, for example, getting the great heritage of Angkor Wat to Borobudur, to the Malacca Sultanate, as an example, and getting students to be alert that here we are with this enormous past, great civilizations, and so that our students feel and have greater confidence and not become subject of captive mind to imagine only with or being charmed by Western civilization and ideas. Through libraries, through reading. You see? Those who are familiar with Uppsala University, example, they still hold books seized during the 17th century wars. Jesuit texts taken from Catholic libraries and returned as trophies of conquest. I give another example recently about during the Baghdad civilization, and the emperor, the caliph, invited someone from Central Asia, or Uzbekistan, or Kazakhstan, the stans, the area, Central Asia, and invited this alim to become wazir, the minister or prime minister. He didn't ask for new cars, or new office, or new wife. You see, like Aaron would have asked that. But he said, no, I need a few camels to bring my books, okay, to Baghdad. You can see the priority. That man with that tradition of knowledge and culture. Yeah. You know. And books also are very critical. Their books banned. Their books considered to be subversive. But decisions can be only made not through opportunistic desires, but through knowledge and understanding. So the good news is, for librarians, even in ASEAN, with all the past turbulence we have endured and experienced, libraries have endured, and so librarians. But you have a major task, not only to disseminate that experience, that knowledge found in books, but to get libraries to be a vibrant center. To our librarians here, in those days, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I inaugurated this conference in 1996. You can guess my age. At that time, I think I was 10-years old. 1996. And I think consistently I mentioned that there are big tasks to make sure that students love to go to the library. Not because it is air-conditioned. Okay, fine, they want some comfort. I used to do that when I was at the University of Malaya. They said, why did you go? It'd be hot outside. Fair. But then once you get there, you must get librarians to charm them, the students. No, just introduce books and encourage them to read, and not only have a discussion in the library. I don't normally tolerate when students choose libraries, particularly in the main library where people have to keep quiet and read, to have discussions. So now we have, for example, programs where we have study rooms where you can have a discussion within the library compound. So we have a great history. Papyrus scrolls, microfilms, now digital. And I thank you very much for this initiative to have a digital library for ASEAN. And as long as you don't ask money from the Minister of Finance. So I must again take this opportunity to thank and express my appreciation to the organizers and to the participants. And then please be reminded that this is an important conference. Yeah. Libraries are not built as monuments for pride. It is where knowledge was to be retrieved and consumed. And the environment is near monastic silence. Can you imagine? But the model now has to adapt with the new circumstances. This is what the people, particularly the young and the students, need. Have library to read in near monastic silence. At the same time, they want spaces open, alive, connected, related to the culture and the arts. Places not only for books, podcasts, films, databases, e-books, and a variety of media that reflects how people learn and explore today. So thank you very much for this opportunity and listening to my morning lecture. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.